In the bustling heart of Shanghai, where skyscrapers touch the clouds and the streets are alive with endless motion, there exists a cafe that most people would pass without a second glance. Its brick facade is simple, the awning slightly faded from the city's relentless sun and rain. But inside, it holds a story that connects one of China's most beloved actresses, Tan Songyun, to something far deeper than coffee or quiet afternoons. For months, fans and bystanders alike have whispered about why Tan keeps returning to this unassuming cafe. Is it nostalgia? A secret meeting place? Or something more mysterious, a silent bond that ties her soul to the little shop on that narrow Shanghai street? What no one expected was how much this cafe reveals about her life, her past, and the parts of herself that the cameras never capture. Every visit begins the same way. Tan steps out of her car in a discreet hat and oversized sunglasses, slipping quickly through the narrow door. The cafe owner, a kindly woman in her 60s, greets her without fuss. No cameras are allowed inside, no autograph hunters, no journalists with probing questions. The air smells of roasted beans and cinnamon, but the real atmosphere is something else, something almost sacred. It is here, in this cafe, where Tan is no longer the dazzling star adored by millions. She becomes just another person, quietly nursing a cup of warm coffee as if it carries the weight of memories only she understands. Witnesses have noticed that she always takes the same seat, the corner by the window, where a single beam of light cuts across the table at a certain hour of the afternoon. Some say she waits for someone. Others swear they've seen her writing furiously in a notebook, her face alternating between smiles and sudden, tearful pauses. What is it about this cafe that pulls her back again and again? There are rumors, of course. One version suggests that it was the first cafe she visited when she moved to Shanghai as a struggling young actress, long before fame found her. She supposedly spent hours there reading scripts, rehearsing lines, and whispering dreams to herself in the dimly lit corner. The cafe was her shelter when the industry seemed impossible, a place where she could hold on to her ambition when everything else tried to break her spirit. But another rumor, whispered more softly, hints at something even more intimate. Some claim this cafe was where she once met someone who changed the trajectory of her life, not a director, not a producer, but someone far more personal. A friend. A confidant. A love. The truth is harder to grasp, yet fragments have surfaced over the years. One barista who worked there in 2016 remembers seeing her often with a young man. He wasn't famous, nor was he the type to draw attention. But there was something about the way they looked at each other, silent conversations, secret smiles, unfinished words, that left an impression on anyone who witnessed it. They never looked like a couple who wanted to be seen, the barista once told a friend. They looked like two people who had built a world only they understood. Perhaps this is why Tan's return to the cafe always feels more like a pilgrimage than a casual stop for coffee. Each visit seems layered with memories, each sip of coffee a dialogue with the past. One rainy afternoon last year, an anonymous fan spotted her inside. The rain tapped against the window like impatient fingers, and Tan was staring out, her reflection blurred by droplets. On the table before her lay a small notebook. She would occasionally write something, then close her eyes as if replaying a moment in her mind. Witnesses recall seeing her brush her thumb across the edge of the notebook almost tenderly, as though it were more than paper, it was an artifact of her history. And then there are the photographs. Not the glossy, polished pictures of magazine shoots, but secret snapshots fans have managed to capture from afar. In one, Tan sits alone, her chin resting on her hand, the soft light catching her profile. In another, she is mid-laughter, her hand covering her mouth in that unmistakable way that has charmed millions. Yet, in these candid glimpses, there's something strikingly different, a rawness, an unguarded version of her. The cafe doesn't just strip away the stardom, it seems to return her to a true self. Some insiders believe the cafe is linked to a personal tragedy she rarely speaks of. A close friend once hinted that the place carries echoes of someone she lost, someone who once dreamed alongside her but didn't make it far enough to see those dreams realized. If that's true, then each return is not just about coffee or comfort, but about keeping a silent bond alive. Imagine it, a young Tan Songyun, sitting across from someone whose laughter filled that little cafe years ago. They made promises at that table, whispered fears, celebrated small victories. Maybe they even carved their initials into the wood beneath the table, a secret pact hidden in plain sight. And now, years later, she comes back not just for the memories, but to honor that silent bond, as if her presence alone keeps it alive. What makes this all the more moving is how quietly she carries it. Tan has never spoken publicly about why she returns there. She never posts about it, never acknowledges it in interviews. It remains hers, untouched by the spotlight. In an industry where every detail of a celebrity's life is dissected and monetized, she has guarded this one secret fiercely, almost defiantly. But the cafe itself tells its own story. The chair she always uses is slightly worn from her presence. The table, marked faintly by time, holds the invisible imprints of countless afternoons. Even the staff treat her visits differently. They know better than to disturb her silence. And silence is key. That cafe is not filled with conversation when she's there. It's filled with pauses, with the unspoken, with the kind of quiet that holds more weight than words. Her bond with the place isn't loud or flashy, it's steady, enduring, unshakable. Some fans who've pieced together the mystery believe the cafe is her grounding point. In a world where she's constantly pushed forward by fame, endorsements, and relentless schedules, the cafe pulls her back to her roots, reminding her of who she was before the red carpets, before the blinding lights. It's a sanctuary where the only expectation is to simply be herself. Others believe the cafe holds a clue to her future. There are whispers that she might one day reveal the story behind it all in a memoir or interview. If she does, it could reshape how the world sees her not just as a talented actress, but as a woman who lived, loved, and lost, all within the four walls of that cafe. Until then, all anyone can do is watch from a distance as she slips in and out, always choosing the same corner, always carrying the same aura of quiet reverence. And perhaps that's the beauty of it. The mystery. The unanswered questions. The fact that, in a world hungry for every detail, Tan Songyun still has something sacred that belongs only to her. The cafe isn't just a place where she drinks coffee. It's a living memory, a silent bond, a bridge between who she was and who she is. Each visit is an act of remembrance, an unspoken conversation with the past, and a reaffirmation of the ties that fame can never erase. For Tan Songyun, the cafe is not about the coffee. It's about connection. A connection so strong, so deeply personal, that no camera, no rumor, no outsider can ever fully capture it. And that's why she keeps returning. Because some bonds are too silent to explain, but too powerful to ever let go. On the surface, the cafe seems ordinary, a handful of tables, soft music, the smell of ground coffee beans lingering in the air. Yet every time Tan Songyun slips inside, the atmosphere shifts. The place almost transforms, as if the walls themselves know her secrets. Fans who have observed her routine claim she never stays less than an hour, but sometimes she lingers for nearly an entire afternoon. What happens during those long stretches of silence is what keeps the mystery alive. One witness, a regular customer who happened to sit near her on multiple occasions, revealed something striking. She doesn't just drink her coffee, he said. She stares at it for long moments, as though the steam carries back memories. Sometimes, she even smiles suddenly, like she's hearing someone whisper something only she can understand. This description has fueled speculation that the cafe holds more than just a nostalgic value. It feels almost like a portal, a space where Tan Songyun steps out of the present and re-enters a world built years ago. There was one particular afternoon that left onlookers stunned. The cafe was unusually quiet, and Tan sat at her corner table with a small notebook before her. After sipping her latte, she took out what looked like an old photograph. The staff, pretending not to notice, glanced discreetly at the image she placed on the table. Though they couldn't see it clearly, one barista swore it wasn't a promotional headshot or film-related picture, it looked personal, intimate. She placed the photo against the cup as if she wanted it to stay upright, staring at it for long minutes. Then, almost instinctively, she reached across the table and brushed her fingers across the empty chair opposite her. The action was fleeting but deliberate, like muscle memory from years of sitting across from someone who wasn't there anymore. It was in that moment the barista whispered to a colleague, "She isn't here for coffee. She's here for him." That him, whoever he may be, remains a mystery. Some believe it was a past love who shared countless afternoons with her in that very cafe. Others insist it could have been a close friend, someone she confided in before fame stole her time and freedom. What remains clear is that whoever occupied that seat once upon a time still lives in her memory every time she walks through those cafe doors. And then there's the peculiar detail about the table itself. If you were to look closely, beneath the wood where the light doesn't reach, there are faint carvings. They look like initials, half faded by time but still visible. Some swear they have seen Tan glance down at them, brushing her fingertips across the etched letters as if tracing back the past. It's a small gesture, yet one filled with meaning. Fans speculate wildly. Are those her initials? His? Both? Was it their secret pact, immortalized in scratched wood under the weight of countless coffee cups? The truth remains locked away in her silence. What makes her connection to the cafe even more powerful is how it contrasts with her public life. On television, Tan Songyun radiates charm, energy, and laughter. She is quick-witted in interviews, dazzling on red carpets, and endlessly professional on set. But in the cafe, she is stripped down to something raw and unguarded. People who have caught rare glimpses describe her expression as softer, almost vulnerable. One fan who happened to pass by the window late in the evening described the scene like a film. The cafe was nearly empty, and she was the last customer inside. The light fell perfectly on her face, but she wasn't smiling. She had her head tilted slightly, her eyes fixed on the empty chair. For a moment, it looked like she was about to speak to it. This image has since become the center of speculation forums. Some fans have even created theories that Tan Songyun uses the cafe as a private place to talk to someone she lost, keeping alive a bond that cannot be broken. Whether that someone is a past love, a childhood friend, or even a family member, no one knows. And yet, the cafe doesn't feel like a place of sadness. Quite the opposite, it feels like a space of healing. Staff who've served her repeatedly say she often leaves with a small, peaceful smile, as though her visits restore her in ways the public never sees. It's like she comes to leave something behind, one worker shared. And when she walks out, she looks lighter, calmer, as though the weight she carried in has been lifted just a little. Perhaps that is the essence of her silent bond with the cafe. It is not just about remembering the past, but about finding the strength to carry it forward. The cafe is not a shrine of grief, it is a sanctuary of resilience. The question, however, remains, will she ever speak of it? For years, fans have waited for her to break the silence. She's been asked countless personal questions in interviews, but not once has she mentioned the cafe. Her silence is deliberate, protective. And maybe that's why the bond is so powerful, because it is hers alone, untouched by gossip or media frenzy. Still, every return stirs new speculation. Could there be a moment when she finally brings someone else with her? Could there come a day when she decides to share her secret, allowing the world to see the truth behind the mystery? Until then, the cafe continues to stand quietly on its little Shanghai street, holding its secrets close. The chair in the corner remains hers, the table bears the weight of untold stories, and the air hums with a silence only she understands. And Tan Songyun keeps returning, bound not by routine but by something far stronger, an invisible thread of memory, love, and loyalty. Because some places are not just places. They are anchors. They are mirrors of the soul. They are bonds that never die. And for Tan Songyun, that little cafe will always be one of them. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more dramatic and mind-blowing stories about your favorite stars.